Hello, people. Well, here we are again. Lieutenant Colonel Roy Potter and myself.
Former Lieutenant Colonel.
Okay. I stand corrected. And Brand Thornton. And we're out here real close to the Bundy Ranch. We're next to the demonstration area. And
I want to speak up just a little bit.
we decided that it's important in light of the Jade Helm activities and some of the information that we've gotten, that we come out here and repeat some ordinances that we did a year ago. These ordinances, they're curses. They're not so much for the Bundys at this time, but more for these other states, like the state of Utah, which is just up the road here, and Arizona, which is real close here also.
And Texas.
And there's
anywhere the feds decide that they're going to intervene with this Jade Helm or like military activity.
Yeah, and forgive the squinting. I know I'm going to be squinting a lot. We're here in southern Nevada, and even though it's March, today it's supposed to like 89 degrees, and it feels hotter than that. So, but anyhow, a year ago we came out here before it really got wrapped up. They had already taken Davey Bundy and beat him up and hauled him off, and I just found out last night to listen to Ammon Bundy, but Dan P. Love actually called Ammon and his family and said, you better not do that again, and you better stay away from our roundup, or we're going to have another Waco, Texas, another Waco, or another Ruby Ridge. And I just found that out last night, so there is a direct threat.
And we kind of knew that innately going into it, because we did see the sniper positions at the time and knew that they were out here. I just thought I'd throw that in.
You can throw it in anytime you want. And we were told by the Bundy gals that we were not to get off the road we were not to get off the blacktop onto the BLM land because they're snipers, and they had told them that they would shoot us. So.
And we walked down to the river anyway to do the ordinances. This was a year ago.
Yeah, we felt we got a big God. He's a great big God, and we felt very strongly that we would be protected. So now, and we did. We went and performed those ordinances and curses upon those people that were doing this terrible thing. And if you look at what's happened in the last year, to Harry Reid, to Obama, and to Eric Holder,
and to Gillespie.
And Gillespie, I mean, Gillespie is completely out of the picture, and he went out in a very embarrassing way that we found out. He was found hiding under his desk. His sheriffs that were under him, specifically Sheriff Tom Roberts, performed admirably out here.
He was the hero of that whole thing.
He was the hero in this whole thing out here. He's the one that told Dan P. Love, you get your people, and you got a half hour to get them up there, and then you got an hour to completely clear out of here. So we've gone over what's happened to Harry Reid since then. He's no longer the majority speaker,
majority leader of the Senate.
Of the Senate. He's gotten beat up.
Obviously.
He's lost a huge amount of credibility, so he's going down. Eric Holder is going down more all the time. He's facing Fast and Furious, prosecution for Fast and Furious. So, if you just look at the last year, what's happened since we performed those ordinances, there's some really amazing things that's happened now. We have the faith and understand it, and when we set out to do it, we had full intentions of doing it and believe that these are the type of things that would happen. I would say this, I wish it was a little more dramatic, but hey, you know what? I'll take what we can get.
And if I can interject here again, the other side of these ordinances that we did out here were to bless the people who trusted in God and stood in harm's way for their families and for their fellow man. And we saw that miracle transpire. One of the things that occurred was a huge flock of geese circled us 3 times out here. It was one of the signs that we had, not to mention all of the other things that happened as well. So there were 2 sides to that. One, that God would turn the enemies away from us, and 2, that the people would feel the Lord's Spirit and and be blessed for it. And no doubt we received blessings on both of those.
And speaking of those geese, what's really interesting about that, we heard them a few times prior, but the gals that actually have lived out here or were born and raised out here, the Bundy gals and some others, and everybody, that, not just them, but everybody's been born and raised out here, they said that's never happened before.
That's right. It was God's Air Force, as I said on the video at the time.
So now, getting back to why we're doing this, we mentioned some of the states and the Jade Helm. We want to take it quite a few steps further because, you know, we've been looking at the world and what's transpiring in the world, what's transpiring up there in Kiev, Ukraine, what's happening with ISIS, and we know who's behind that, either indirectly or directly. We know who's behind that. We mentioned it in some of our video clips. We're going to be a lot more specific at this time. We want to mention their names specifically. For example, Rothschild, what is it, the 11th?
Evelyn de Rothschild.
Evelyn de Rothschild, and do you remember?
I don't remember the other.
Okay, anyhow, it's the Rothschilds. They're predominantly, now you got a whole lot of other families that are also involved, like the Rockefellers, Bilderbergs, Warburgs, the DuPonts, the Schiffs, and people like that. So I might not be able to name them all. We know who is actually behind this, and they've been doing this stuff for hundreds, if not thousands of years to humanity. And but what's happened is really wrapped up. If you look what's happening over there in the Ukraine, I mean, they are slaughtering women and children. I saw one, I mentioned to Roy on the way up. I was looking at the pictures of a young lady who was pushing her baby in a carriage, and the sniper shot them both and killed them both. So, I mean, I can't imagine.
And we are encouraging that. By when I say we, I mean the United States and the Western intelligence services are encouraging that and that type of thing, and then blaming the Russians for it. Now, don't misunderstand me, okay? I don't like the Russian society necessarily, but they've come a long way since the tearing down of the Berlin Wall, and now we're destroying everything that we've been able to build between us since then, and it's our people that are doing that, and it's for monetary reasons. It's to get behind Soros and his investments, if you don't understand that. And now we've got the House of Representatives that either today or yesterday, I'm not sure which day it was, voted something like 200 to 48 to send lethal aid to this murderous Ukraine government that we put into place that's actually Nazi-based. No, this is wrong. And
that's what I love about this guy, man. He gets fired up. He gets the old spirit going and gets fired up. Those emotions and feelings that we're talking about, that when we do these ordinances, you got to feel that in your heart, because it's your heart chakra. It's called a 7-layered liquid crystal, and it's an electromagnetic field. And I'm going to just jump right into this. It's an electromagnetic field. In quantum physics, the electromagnetic fields travels between 7 and 14 trillion times faster than the speed of light. It's virtually instantaneous. Electromagnetic field can travel to the furthest reaches of the universe in 4.6 seconds. That's what they figure. I didn't figure it out. I'm just giving you the information. Consciousness even travels faster. It's absolutely instantaneous. So with our consciousness and with our heart, we're going to put that information in the water. We use the water for these curses. And
blessings.
And blessings. I'm more into the curses than the blessings. But, you know, just reflecting or adding what he just said as far as blessings, it kind of, you know, we see atrocities all the time. Like I was just talking about this woman and this baby, they went right to heaven. Guaranteed. Went right to heaven. The guy that shot him, he's going to go to hell. And, you know, how long is he going to be there? Eternity? Who ultimately is worse off? Okay, so you really got to have your heart in two places almost, where, you know, when you do these curses, you really got to look at it, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but you got to look at it as you're also helping these people to not do that anymore, you know, because they're just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's like when we cursed Harry Reid, you know, I told Roy, I said, you know, he's just going to dig a pit that he's never going to get out of. And in our theology and doctrine, you ultimately pay for every single thing that you did. And anywhere from 10 to 100-fold, as the scripture says. Well, we don't want them to get so deep in that pit that, you know, maybe, I don't know, 1 trillion years they can't get out. And that's just all pure speculation on my part. But I don't like seeing anybody suffer. And if it's bad, as the scriptures say, where these people are just burning and burning and burning and burning, you know, I don't understand. Because hopefully I've never been there, but I just don't want to see that. So when we do these cursings, it's really for both sides. We want to put an end to this. Period. End of story. And so there is love that we have. We do have love for both sides. One is kind of hard to bring up. It's really easy to love the lovely. It's really easy to feel empathy and sympathy for children, innocent people, innocent children, innocent women.
It's easy to love your friends. It's not easy to love your enemies.
And that's where, it's been one of my biggest challenges. Jesus says you got to love your enemies also. So I do work on that. I do work on that, absolutely. And I know Roy works on, it's like last year we came out here, I cursed them with the waters, and he come and he blessed them, So in some ways he's better, he's ahead of me on that sort of thing. So anyhow, we've been, Roy and I, there's a list, it's called the Red List, that's going to come out with the Jade Helm, and they want to pick up individuals that have been kind of the leaders of this, and it's everything from the governors, to state legislators that are trying to succeed. They're putting nullification on federal laws, and right on down the line, and so we want to put an end to that. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing is probably the prime reason. And we know who's behind it all. We've done our research, and it's not that hard to find, and it's not that hard to figure out. So specifically, we'll call them the Illuminati. We will call them the bankers. We will call them the Luciferians. And the
Trilateral Commission, the New World Order, all of them bunched together. And I might add also, if I may, that we're going to ask God to step in and turn the enemies away that are trying to take over our goodly lands, as Brand calls it, and the land that we have consecrated to the Lord. Our land that we inherited, that we possess. We're going to ask that for everyone that these people are threatening, which right now, of course, is really everywhere in the United States, but principally out here out west. We're going to ask that, and we're also going to ask for a blessing upon the people, that we not see the suffering that this evil force can bring about to our fellow Americans and people around the world. It's time for this empire to stop doing these evil things. This military, as I said in one video, this is not something that we should be glorifying in. Yes, the military is a necessary evil, but it should not be glorified. It should not be put up on a pedestal and allowed to do anything that the military-industrial complex wants to do. It should be for the defense of truth, of virtue, of life, of liberty, not for empire building. And not destroying the lives of innocent people around the world and in this country. I think we're running out of time, but I just wanted to throw that in.
Well, I'll say one more thing. Getting back to the actual ordinance and its performance, I talked about the electromagnetic fields in water. Water has a memory. Scientists have found this. They put it under electron microscopes where you bless the water and and say prayers over it, and it forms these really beautiful crystals when it's frozen. And then somebody will say, "I hate you" or something like that, and it really is really ugly. And so that's why we got to have our heart in this in the right way. And that water is very, very interesting because it's very strong electromagnetic fields, and it travels instantly for the most part. If it can go to the furthest reaches of the universe in 4.6 seconds, here's the Virgin River. It connects to Lake Mead. It ends up in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, by doing this instantaneously, this is going to go throughout the world, throughout the earth. And oh, good grief, let me shut this off real quick. And it's very interesting in that you got to have the right thing in your heart for this to be successful. And this is what we would call white priesthood. And we don't expect to get any kind of financial gain from it. We just do this out of the goodness of our heart for our fellow man. And I want to make that really, really clear. Now, it's based upon wonderful fundamentals. If you get into quantum physics, you can find all the same stuff in quantum physics. It just requires faith in the right attitude, the right heart. So we're really confident in this, and we're gung-ho. And I think that's all I got to say at this point in time.
Okay, so we'll have the other video showing the ordinances. We may not explain that afterwards, but we will show you parts of what we're doing.